So with this, now we are very happy to get into the day 2 of this season 5 Sky Campus of ICT Academy, and we are very privileged to have 2 eminent speakers today. And the first speaker is senior most academic leader of in our country, and he's currently with Sharda University. Dr. Shibram Kara is the Vice Chancellor of Sharda University. So we are very happy to welcome you, sir, on behalf of ICT Academy and behalf of the entire educator fraternity. I welcome you to this particular session. Namaste, sir. So, Dr. Shibram is a very, I would say, he's a senior person in this industry, I should say, because he pursued his PhD in engineering from Javdepur University, Kolkata, and he's most of you are from the engineering colleges here. So he's also an electronics ECE man, and he completed his graduation in NIT Allahabad. And he has a successful industry and teaching experience across his domain of communication and networking engineering. So he served in various leading universities, including the earlier Galgatua University, where he was earlier the Pro VC, and he was dean in the same Sharda University, and now he is the vice chancellor. So he's honored as a best research faculty, from our VIT Belur in 2010, and then he has got his research publications published across all the leading journals, globally. And he has delivered sessions across the globe, right from USA to UK to anywhere. And he is one of the senior most person, and I'm sure in the north will definitely know about him. So we are very glad to have you, Dr. Shibram Kara. And this session is specific to the educator community. And we are having close to 3,500 teachers from the higher education spectrum. They are mostly from the engineering colleges, universities, and arts and science colleges who are teaching higher education students. So we have no students or no school teachers here. These are specific the higher education teachers. When I say teachers, it includes faculty members, HODs, principals, and all educators. So this session, the objective is to give them idea about what, according to you, is the future of education going to be. Your what are the steps that you are leading? Sharda University takes, which we all can learn, and we can also imbibe those certain characteristics in every institution across the country, whether it be rural, urban, things like that. So we wish to hear from you, Dr. Shibram Kara, for the next half an hour to 40 minutes. I welcome you to go ahead with your opening talk, sir.
Thank you very much, Suresh. And my warm welcome to all the participants in this session. And as I know today, with us Hrishikesh Patankar, the Chief Operating Officer, CSC E-Governance Service Limited, and Dr. B. Amudambi, the President, ICT Academy. And I am very much privileged and honored to be part of this session. And I am very thankful and thank you very much. So today's topic is very interesting topic and most relevant topic so far the current scenario and also the future scenario and is concerned here. The skills. So future of the skills. So I was hoping that whether it's a future skills or skills in future, but it's a more serious future of skills. So probably skills today we aim to have, to acquire, or we want to give the students and people, it should have the future relevance. It should sustain in the future market. That means all the skills we have to ensure the futuristic. So skills required for employment and entrepreneurship, and probably skills can be acquired through education and some training. So first, in these presentations, I will start with the motivations that need to explore where the people will be employed. If we are giving the skills through educations, then where the students will be employed. That means finding all these job opportunities and then explore what skills required to be employed in that particular sector. So that explorations is required before we design a curriculum and we think to give certain futuristic skills to the student. And second option is that is the entrepreneurship. Explore what entrepreneurial opportunity the students will look for, and then exploring what skills we should design to give them so that they can explore in that particular venture. So this is very fundamental approach, and we can have these presentations in these guidelines. So following here, see how the skills can be acquired. So it is academics, educations, that is curriculum, resources in place, the human resource and lab equipments, everything, including the ambience and infrastructures. Content delivery is very, very important. And then involving the students in a lot of activities, projects, internships. So employability skills and soft and technical skills also very important. Nowadays, coding skills also very much relevant across the discipline. And then skill-based training and project-based learning, research-based learning, experiential learning components in the curriculum. So that while learning, they have on-job or very real-life skill. And then how to give entrepreneurship skills. That is also very important, because entrepreneurship, until unless somebody takes up entrepreneurial ventures and then work on that, he gets the experience. But can we still implement some of the entrepreneurship-based learning in the educations? So these are the things we can highlight. Of course, for the students or anybody, the good number of e-contents, courses, training, internships are available anytime, anywhere. So beyond curriculums, anybody can have any type of particular training through online or offline. So skills are available. So now need to explore where the people will be employed, and then explore what skills required to be employed. So in the light of this, let us explore in depth further. Start from the bottom. Let us see in our country specifically, where are all people, workforce are working. Say we have primary sectors, the agriculture, where fishery, forestry, farming, pastoral activities, mining, quarrying, etc. And we say 43 to 48% people will be workforce are working there. So that is our major careers in India. We have industry sector, the manufacturing, productions, automobile, infrastructure, real estates, etc., where we see 25% workforce. And then biggest sector is your service sector, where your aviation, transport, trading, communications, restaurants, tourism, media, law, IT, software, art and design, finance, banking, personnel, healthcare, medicals, executive, scientists, consultant, decision makers, etc. So we can see here all these white colors to gold colors jobs, service oriented, 32% workforce. Currently, it is there. But when we talk about the skills, the new scenario has come up, that is the COVID-19. So it has impacted a lot. Probably it will also dictate to think about the skills rightly we'll have, or students will have to explore or to get employment or to take up some entrepreneurship ventures. So how those sectors are affected by this COVID-19, let us see. And taking this impact, we can think what will be the future education policy and framework to give them the skills. Primary sectors, due to the COVID, is a major, little bit effect is there in the mining, but in totality in the primary sectors, specifically agriculture, fishery, forestry, in the April, June, in this quarter, we'll see only very minimal impact, that is minus 1.3% GVA degain. Whereas industry, constructions, automobile, infrastructure, real estate, and MSME, this is the worst hit area. And in this sector, the quarter of finance, minus 17.3% GVA will be decayed. In of course, service sector, because aviation, transport, retails, finance, restaurant, tourism are very, very badly hit. So minus 6.3%. During these 3 months will occur the downfall. And further, it depends that how much lockdown period will be extended and when we recover back, and everything will depend on that. But still, this is the major thrust. Even whatever the damage has been done to recover that, we need a lot of skills, lot of extra skills, efforts, efficiency, all those things. So on this worst hit effect of the COVID-19, let us see the finance. We are seeing that salary cut, EMI issues will be there. Then loan growth will be down, will increase. Because everybody is asking money from the government and bank. And then downfall of the borrowers means those who have already the loan takers, their downfall, either MSME or some companies or real estate. So from where they will get money and they will pay back to the bank. So severe impact will be there on us. Now in the finance sector, probably they will be looking for more automations to reduce their cost. So those who have lost the job, maybe many persons may not be called back, or salary cut will be there. And they also will take the ventures or the strategy for more automations in the system, thereby reducing the manpower, but it will certainly increase some amount of IT professionals in the bank as well as software developers. But job will be shifting. Now industry and automobiles. Say industry and automobiles specifically, it was in transition phase from basic standard emission 4 to 6 and then petrol to electric. Already downfall of the market was happening. Now suddenly it is stopped. So these automobiles are worst hit. Now they, to revive, they need certain very, very skills for industry 4.0 and then reuse of the resources for other products, that is multiple product. We have already seen that some automobile company, they are reutilizing their resources to manufacture the ventilators. Probably that idea may trigger industry and automobiles, the skills for industry 4.0 and reuse of the existing resources for other products. So there is a skills. MSME, already downfall is there, so entrepreneurship skills to be taken care of. Healthcare, so I was talking that India being a so vast country where 1.3, more than 1.3 billion population and thickly populated, and medical care is not reached to the many people. So if you have the outreach of the medical facility, then technology solutions will be important. That means again, your electronic sensors and then kiosk software and AI machine learning, all those things will be in picture. And R&D of course will increase, and infrastructure development and then policy framing because of healthcare will be implemented across. So policy framing will be very, very important. We need skills in all these sectors. Of course, now due to the COVID, we have seen that online activities for education also has increased, but still huge issues are there on the networking and bandwidth side. And most important issue is that online evaluation tools. So how really you replicate examination room, the written in different modes of answers, and that to distant place or at his home. So that is a big challenge, and new tools, new softwares to be developed. So these are all sectors we are saying that job opportunity or new skills is demanded by COVID-19. So graduates altogether, they will have the skills to innovate ideas, plan techniques, equipment, software for speedy recovery of the damage caused by the COVID-19. So if you talk about industry 4.0, which is focused on digital transformation of enterprise, real-time connection between humans and machines and smart objects. So we are talking about the cyber physical systems. So sensor, networking, IoT, industrial IoT, AI, ML, cloud to transform the existing system or to design the new system. Some parts of the manufacturers need to be renovated to make it oriented towards the smart system, because many parts of the manufacturing and production units are, you just cannot make smart. Some of the renovation in that system to make it adaptable to the smart system. And then cyber physical systems will be prevalent across all industries. Big data driven quality control. There's a demand for data scientists because huge data will be collected from all parts, machinery, process, and physical parameters of all those production unit, and then its analysis for proper decision making, control, predictions, and these are the big data analytic, and data scientists will be playing important role in this. So job profiles will of course will be very important in these aspects: logistics, sales, customer support, administration, management, maintenance, production planning, because these things will change when industry 4.0 comes. Software development skills also need new things, although the hardware part, the processors and the VLSI, that can be outsourced from the other country, as we are lagging in that. But implementation part of this man developing different operating system or application, that part, their skills will be required. Besides, there is huge number of traversal skills, competency, interpersonal skills, creativity, entrepreneurial thinking, problem solving, conflict solving, decision making skills, because big data analysis will be there, research skills, and then efficiency. All these skills will be very, very important once we go to the next generations of the industry. Finance sector, already we have told that people are likely to lose job and finance will go for automation, so it will create some job opportunity for IT. So altogether, IoT, AI and ML will become the tools for everything, for giving the solutions in all sectors, including manufacture, IT and finance. Therefore, multidisciplinary knowledge will be very, very important here. So curriculum has to be that how they will give open electives or different multidisciplinary courses as well as multidisciplinary problems inside the campus. So that's why the education 4.0, lot of components we need to include. Now, learning anytime, anywhere in education 4.0, MOOCs will be there, outcome-based education, curriculum and liberal multidisciplinary teaching learning, in alignment with industry 4.0, finance 4.0 and enterprise 4.0. So main components will be remote learning anytime, anywhere with self-paced approach, flexible choices and personal learning beyond curriculum, project-based learning, experiential learning through field visits, and research-based learning as well. Liberal studying for both creative and analytic, including multidisciplinary studies. Study and data analysis to predict trends and building entrepreneurial thinking. This is one of the most important component. Also, it is there in the NEP. How do we connect our students to the society or community to understand the life process, the society, the finance, the healthcare issues, the water, energy, environment, constructions, all and development, all those, they need to collect the data, analyze the data, and interpret it appropriately for articles, for research, for defining the projects, rules, and any welfare measurements, and finally, the trends in the markets and internal thinking. So that part, the community study. And fortunately, in our university, in Southern University, it's very, very tight and very successful model is there. Now, skills are to be articulated for the courses, the components, whichever we identify, in the form of outcomes, so that faculty and students know the major outcomes which are brought about by the content delivery. And then content delivery should be accordingly, either online, offline. Resource and lab appropriately should be available. Ecosystem should be built up so that proper skill-based learning is happening in compliance with expected skills which have been defined in the form of outcomes. Then appropriate tools for assessment and evaluation. This is also very, very important, so that no bias should be there to measure skills, expected level of the skills attained. So the evaluations and assessment tools appropriately should be designed to measure the outcomes. And one important factor is that students and faculty must visit the industry to see the productions and manufacturing process, because when industry 4.0 we talk about, then a lot of automations and smart features to be added in the existing system, because overnight entire infrastructures cannot be overthrown and they will build up a smart system new. So in that case, if students and faculty members visit the industry and see the production and manufacturing process and other things, really it is helpful to understand the issues and problems for developing a smart system. And even some of the things can be replicated in lab, can be the campus to give the service or to give the solutions. For that, collaborations between industry and academia will be very, very important in Education 4.0. Now, few issues in the education sector that are to be in radar for governments, regulatory, and for institutions. So excellence, teaching, learning, and research. Moving towards the excellence, faculty development programs by the government or by university, always faculty members will be conversed with the latest technology and what are the problems and pedagogy. Examination reforms, Bloom's taxonomy level, appropriately to be reflected in the questions, and teaching learning should affordability by the students, accountability of the institutions, very, very important for doing everything to obey the regulations and teaching learning and other things. Digital networks for online activities, specifically for evaluations, already I have told that government can think and formulate certain strategy, how they can outreach with the bandwidth and appropriate evaluation tools, so that any kind of answers can be given. And quality initiatives, the quality mandates which is given by the UGC and its implementation honestly. So accountability will be there with the institutes. Corruption-free educations, responsibility lies with both the institutions as well as the government and accreditation body. And then ecosystem for internship. Huge number of students are passing out. If we talk about their experiential learning, project-based learning, and any other things, such as they can apply their knowledge or they can have the real experience or exposure to the system, then how such a large number of students will be getting chance. So some internship policy government need to take, how these huge industry infrastructures, IT infrastructures can be utilized through policy to facilitate the students to have meaningful internship. So ultimately, education system will be 4.0 to give the skills. The skills will certainly have the employability and entrepreneurship, which will be sustainable for futures. And then in each sectors, if these things happen, then economy of the country certainly will grow up, and we can regain the economic downfall, the GDP, due to the COVID-19 at first phase, where we can supersede also. So will be the theme. So I don't know where I was disconnected, but I will tell few things that the most important is there, that involvement of the students in involving students in project-based learning effectively, then experiential learning and research-based learning, project-based learning, entrepreneurship-based learning. Now, most important thing is that students and faculty members at the very beginning, as a first step, must visit the industry to see the production and manufacturing process. If we see that, then for any program students, it will be very useful to link their knowledge, since they will be moving towards industry 4.0. What are all those challenges there? So ultimately, and even whole industry overnight will not be transformed to industry 4.0. They will identify certain automation features where they will be more benefited. So the data science and managements and managers and then technology technocrats all will be involved. Understand the issues, problems for developing a smart system. So collaborations between industry and academia is very, very important to make it successful. So this is the curriculum part, how the curriculum should be and what should be our motive. But there are few certain issues in the education sector where both government and institutions need to focus, or always should be in radar, that excellence to be ensured. So what is the strategy to move towards the excellence in teaching, learning and research? Faculty should be continuously upgraded. Examination process should be reformed. The old versions of examinations will not. So properly the Bloom's taxonomy level and outcomes should be matched, and really it is to be checked, because we are still lagging in these aspects. Then education should be affordable by the students. Accountability should lie with the institutions to do the things honestly and do it. And then digital networking in India, specifically, everything we are talking, okay, teaching learning is going on, we are doing, that is okay. But when really, if you do the evaluations, there is a problem. Because how do you really replicate or create exactly virtual examinations as you do in the classroom? So you need webcam, you need, that can be done with using a laptop, but provided you have bandwidth. And then you have to come out very artificial AI-based system where you can check the malpractice. So bandwidth will be first, and then a proper software where all types of answer can be given by the students as it is given by the students in the examination center. Then regulatory bodies should be chained, light but tight, because the inspection still some biasness may be there. So government is thinking on that. Then quality mandates given by the UGC or quality initiatives, and its implementation authentically in the university or in the campus is very, very important. Corruption-free education system. Government is looking for that, how all these compliance related, all those things, how authentic it is, and of course, and also accreditation part. An ecosystem for internship, which I was talking, that huge number of graduates are passing out. We are talking about effective internship. How do you facilitate the students to have effective implementations? So government can think of that. We have huge IT and industrial firms, sectors. By regulations, instructions should be given. They should give facility or share some infrastructures for all students to have meaningful internship. And for every industry, it can be mandatory through regulations. And then overall, good education system will certainly bring the skills, and then only employability and entrepreneurship will be ensured. And if employability and entrepreneurship ensured, then in those sectors, secondary and tertiary sectors, service sectors and manufacturing, if improves, then only economy will grow. So ultimately, if I keep the both extremes, then education and economy, so economic growth through educations, where educations will be again catering towards the skills, and skills will be catering towards employability and entrepreneurship. So this is all about the summary of my presentations, and thank you very much for giving opportunity and sharing the dais with such dignified platform and with all the participants. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for sharing such a wonderful and insightful presentation. And as a typical academic leader, you had a lot of insights poured into one small presentation of 3 to 4 slides. But you were able to bring in a lot of big picture of education, and in fact, you deep dived into what things people should do from academia. So I'll pick up. I will ask you a few questions, sir. Leaving the PowerPoint aside. So do you think the role of teacher, this is one common question I ask every academic leader like you, do you think the role of teacher will change post-COVID era? Will they have the same role, or will it change?
Teacher cannot be replaced. Teacher will be there. Even teacher responsibility will be. A lot of informations, duplicate informations, unauthentic informations will be available in the net. It is the teacher who has to guide the students properly, which is the relevant content, and deciding on the content. You see, in a particular topic, a student searches the content. He is giving huge number of contents or all those things. So teacher has to prepare a very appropriate content and guide, and teacher's expertise always is useful for giving a proper skills to the student. Of course, bright students and some students will acquire different knowledge from the knowledge and e-content available in and around us. But teacher's role cannot be replaced by any of the online activities. And one more thing also I want to highlight here. See, online education is okay, but when students come to the campus, there is a general growth and general development of the students in its interpersonal skills. And they learn many things. When you are cut off, you are alone at home, and every instant of life, every step of the life, we are missing some informations. So students should be in campus, and teachers' roles just cannot be removed, cannot be replaced.
Okay, sir. Okay. So how do you think the assessments, will it go online? No? Are we prepared to do online assessments of students, online examination of students? What is your feeling?
See, online assessment, already I have told, basically we have online assessment based on the MCQ based question, multiple choice questions. There are few companies who have come up with the tools. They are telling that any kind of answers can be given. But here major problem is in online evaluations, and then versatile different kinds of contents are expected from the students to write, to develop. So algorithm, images, and your flow charts and your diagrams and mathematical equations, many more things is very difficult to conduct online examinations. So it is what we are trying to do. We have at home one say frying pan, and then we are trying that every quality of foods, including omelette, roti, or chicken biryani, everything you have to prepare using this. So that means that frying pan has to be very smart. So let us develop that smart system. Is really 100% will fulfill our requirement. Otherwise, we are just managing. But we need to develop certain tools, and bandwidth should be ensured. See, currently, bandwidth itself, 20 to 25% students are out of bandwidth coverage. And remaining bandwidth also in Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, and interior, and including Jammu and Kashmir, you have 2G and all those things. So problem is there. Now, once you conduct online examinations, you cannot make it or implement it uniformly for all the students. You have to make it optional, current scenario, and then it is becoming a big headache. So that the idea is good, but we should have the proper tools to conduct it.
Okay, I got it, sir. But no, that's the exact reason, because many of the teachers have been telling the internet penetration and the infrastructure of the rural students is a typical issue. So that's the reason we are going to have one more expert today, Mr. Rishikesh Patnagar, who is part of the CSE e-Governance India Limited. They are in charge of almost all the missions under the Digital India program. So we are going to listen from him after your session. He will be joining us any moment. So what is your gut feel, sir? Do you think we will get ready with all infrastructure for rural students?
Please repeat your questions. It was bandwidth. I could not hear you properly.
No, but what do you think about the infrastructure or the internet facility for the students in the rural villages?
Say, internet facility for the rural villages, either government is, if broadband is to be given, it should be the government has to take initiative, because if private operators are penetrating the broadband, they will think about the revenue, investment in the infrastructures and what revenue they will get. So they have to have that customer segment. But if government can do fiber optics and broadband penetration, and it has some subsidy, and it can tie up ESNL, so then support from the government is required. And other side, when cellular operators are doing 4G, but 4G, if you using 4G, if you give nations, there is a limitations, because you maximum get no per day 2 GB. So it is that person has to subscribe, the students. So he has to subscribe accordingly that for that bandwidth. So, and also the 4G, if it is, if that bandwidth, that signal condition is not good, then every time he will be interrupted. And then you will see that 25% students are telling, sir, I could not finish, my network problem was there, and I could not submit. So we have to tolerate all those things.
Okay.
Only way is that if in the remote area, some schools or some infrastructures can be hired, and then those people only will be doing the role of invigilators, and then some machines should be provided to them. In any good schools is there, then in that school, when that school examination is not there, some slot can be given and the bandwidth is provided, then from any type of examinations people can conduct for them, any competitive examinations, and these situations, these normal examinations also. So it is infrastructure problem, technology. How do you develop the infrastructure? Then it will depend on that. Success is dependent on that.
Okay, sir. I think you answered my question. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your answers that you are trying to use. So, as a teacher, you are a teacher. You have been a teacher all along. What are some of the guidance for the teachers this post-COVID era? As personally as a teacher, what should he or she do? Some points from your side.
You can repeat this. Your voice was breaking.
What are your inputs for a teacher post-COVID era after this lockdown? What should our teacher do? Can you give some points for teachers personally?
After the COVID?
Yes.
Say, now after COVID, if students are coming to the campus and the academic will start, okay, then we have the mentor-mentee system. We have a course in us for every course, and then HOD, Dean Student Welfare, Proctor. So well-established process is there in each and every university. So when students will be coming, first we have to maintain, most important thing, the social distancing. But that again depends on the infrastructure of the university of institutions. If you conduct the class and if you maintain certain distance, then group size will be reduced. So if you want to take care of the students, then infrastructures and operating issues will be there. If you give the guidance to the students, then proper group-wise academic guidance should be given. If and that is the class teachers and doctors will play an important role.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think you have answered almost all my questions.
Thank you very much.
One comment by one of the teachers is telling, is virtual learning and online learning becoming an additional burden to the rural parents? Specifically the parents, every time now parents are feeling the additional burden because of virtual learning. Is that true, sir, as a parent or as a teacher? What is your feel?
No, it is not burden. The problem is psychological. See, my son is there at home. It is you are keeping a very vibrant and dynamic young person inside the home in a room. Then you are locked down, you cannot go out. Even we are not going out of my this society. Now he is for 2 he is confined. Now at this point, his life has become so monotonous. They don't have any such kind of other amusement or entertainment, such as sports, outdoor sports, meeting with friends, or little bit chatting, all those things. They are only engaged in the laptop or mobile, and then at home. And then if you are burdening too much with them, they are sometimes becoming bored. It is not the problem with the learning or all those things. It is the problem with the situations where psychologically, that's why we are giving mental health support, encouraging the students, and then talk to students, these things, that they are worried about what will happen to the examinations. Final year students are worried about this placement opportunity I have missed. And then some brilliant students are doing internship, and they are in anxiety. I could not do good internship. Now I have been asked that some students could not do project. They were doing some hardware project. Their establishment was there in the laboratory. Now they have been asked, okay, you convert your project analytical based, simulation based, study based, case study based, data based, or survey based. So then some students are also not happy. Some students may be very happy. So its total situation is such that it is making, because we are applying the teaching learning methods in not normal conditions, in the abnormal conditions. So in abnormal conditions, any experiments cannot be evaluated. It will have some negative evaluations.
Fine,
so when 25% usual online teaching learning will be there, when they are in the campus, that time we have to evaluate. So probably they will be liking, chalo, today we need not sit in the classroom, from the hostel we can attend the class. So they will enjoy. So let us see that.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot. I think you've answered all the questions. Thanks a lot for your insightful session. And in fact, many people were asking about your presentation. We will definitely give you the presentation. We'll take it from Dr. Shivram and we will share it with all of you. You can just have a look at the website where we will upload the presentation shortly. So on behalf of the entire faculty fraternity, the educators community, I thank Dr. Shivram on behalf of ICT Academy, on behalf of all the educators, for having spent this time and given such wonderful insights for all of us to take it forward, from Dr. Shivram, the Vice Chancellor of Sharda University from the North India. So thank you once again, Dr. Shivram. Thank you very much.